It used to. It didn't hoot.
It only hoots when it first powers up.
Oh, I wanted it to hoot every time. That's cool. All right.
Do you want your gavel?
I need to whistle.
I got a
We're
gavel.
recording now.
Ollie, it needs to hoot if you say something stupid.
It's gonna move and holler.
No, no comment, Mr. Buckett. Okay,
Who's this?
all right. Mr. Curtis, come forward if you don't mind, sir, and don't hit the owl.
Watch your step.
And watch your step. And here comes Mr. Mr. Street, are we ready?
Madam Mayor, we're having, as we speak, we're recording now. It's actually 10:01, and I'm allowing people in as quick as I can into the Zoom.
Okay. Good morning. How are y'all this morning? Thank y'all for coming. We appreciate y'all showing up. Thank you to the council for showing up too. That's well, one of our council members is on now, but he is on Zoom. As you will notice, we have this new apparatus in the front of us here, OWL, and it allows us to do an online Zoom as well as an online face-to-face. It's a wonderful gizmo. It will record what you say and how beautiful you look. We thank you all for, we're going to give it a whirl. It worked well this morning. We hope it continues to work well as we go with our regular council meeting. So I have called us to order. Mr. Turner, are you online?
I am.
Councilman Turner, would you please offer our invocation?
I will. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, may your grace cover each aspect of this meeting. We pray that all voices will be heard and that we will have a mindset of inclusivity. May this be a safe space for people to express their opinion and a place where ideas matter more than titles. May everyone be engaged and involved, and may all concerns be addressed. May each member of this team feel valued, and may we each recognize the skill sets and knowledge that each person brings to the table. In your holy name, amen.
Wonderful, Bruce. I think maybe we need to hear that every meeting. Great. Thank you, Bruce. Our next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the May 18th special called council meeting, the May 18th work session, and the May 18th regular council meeting. You had the minutes in your packet. I hope you reviewed them. Do I hear a motion to approve these minutes?
I have read the minutes and they sounded really familiar. So I will make the motion that we approve the minutes.
I'm glad you read them, Jim. Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bruce. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. All right. Now we need to adopt the agenda as presented. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Second. Thank you, Ed. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, and Bruce, I heard Bruce too. Great. Let's go next to our city manager report. I'm going to let Jason do his report, and then we will ask for questions or comments at that time. Take it away, Jason.
Madam Mayor, council, we citizens met with Faith Bryant of GMRC, Georgia Mountain Regional Commission. She actually came up and spent the day with us late last month. We discussed updating our zoning maps, our city limits maps, and also trying to create a master map for our water system. She was actually able to take the map that it's in paper-based form and scan that in. So we do have electronic, or they're also looking to upgrade those maps in our system. The renovations to City Hall has began this week. If you go by there, all of our construction, they're doing a great job. They've been beating and banging and ripping siding off and replacing it. So thank y'all for approving that in the previous meeting. They're making a lot of headway. We have submitted the required Georgia EPD renewal permit. This is for water withdrawal. This is something that's required every 5 years, which essentially allows the city the ability to withdraw water to sell. So that was needing to be updated. We provided that EPD, and they have received it, and I haven't received any comments back, but it is, the ball's in their court. In a previous meeting, there was some discussion about some of the city-owned properties that the city may wish to sell. I did reach out to several appraisers. I got some quotes. I reached out to 3. One in Clarksville was essentially $900 to appraise the identified properties. A local appraiser in Clayton was $1,700. And then the third appraiser, they declined to provide a quote. So that's something to consider as we move forward. Clegg Jarvis, who is our financial consultant, and I will be traveling to Clarksville tomorrow to meet with Jody Nixon, who is the auditor. That's going to be starting up soon. We've got some questions, and she does too. So we're going to be moving forward with that. Very quickly on in previous meetings, we've talked about the Evergreen extension. We have reached out to the identified property owners to try to make that happen. We have not received 100% commitment from all the property owners, but we have received 100% commitment from the property owners that's reached out to us. So there's only 1 or 2 left. We feel very confident that we're going to get that 100% commitment to acquire those right-of-way easements to improve that road. Hopefully, maybe by next meeting, we'll have some more information. Also, we'll be starting the budget process for 2022 very soon. I've already been in contact with our department heads for them to identify things that they would wish to do for next budget year. I also provided you all with a financial report. All in all, the city's in pretty good shape. Just as we all know, costs are increasing as we write the budget. Fuel, materials is going up exponentially. So James, who's not here today, but he's aware of that. Obviously, we're having to take that consideration. And also the pickleball court, I didn't add this, but it was steam cleaned last Friday. I think it had some discoloration, and so we were able to get that done. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Any comments or questions? Jim?
Will the city hall repairs require closing the city hall at some point? And if so, where will we be?
I don't believe so,
Okay.
Counselor. I think pretty much everything they're doing is external. It's a little noisy in there right now with all the beating and banging, but you have to crack eggs to make an omelet, as the saying goes. But they have, as of this morning, or they started yesterday, they were able to take all the cladding off the front side and one of the sides. And I would suspect today they'll have it completely done and re-sided, but they're making progress. And to my knowledge, we will not have to close City Hall.
Cool, thank you.
Bill?
Jason, I know we're in the process of working, getting an allocation of funds from the state and local fiscal recovery act. And they've just opened the window to get the final piece of paperwork. I think the application that closes 6/21.
That's correct. Yeah.
Did you give everybody an update on where we are with?
That whole process, the American recovery, in a sense, it's kind of been a hurry up and wait scenario. They'll throw a lot of information will come out, and then it's kind of a waiting game. But I think we're kind of getting to the end there. To my knowledge, we have done everything so far we need to do to make sure we're eligible. You are correct. The window just opened, so that's going to kind of be priority 1 for me today, tomorrow, to make sure that we have everything that's needed for that. Of course, I'm talking about the American recovery funds. The city is going to receive some of that money. The allocation, I believe, of course, is, I want to preface that it may change, but it should be approximately around $86,000. Of that, the city would receive half of that this year, $43,000. the other half next year. And one of the things that a lot of the cities have been trying to wait or get clarification on is how that money can be used. And it's my understanding that that money can be used for things related to COVID, to recoup costs, or it can be used for infrastructure. So we will have to decide in the future how that money is
And
spent.
also expansion, if needed, of basic internet services.
Correct. They're going to complete, the government's going to finalize how we can use that money on July 16th is what I learned in a meeting yesterday, that overall, the United States, this whole act is $1.9 trillion for all the municipalities in the United States. And Georgia gets 1.4 million, at which point we get a portion of it also. Any other questions?
Regarding the fourth item of the appraisals, I assume that's for the property that was donated to the city, or were there also city lots involved?
These were the multiple properties that are adjacent or contiguous of the Wildbird.
I'm
And
sorry, Jason. or
the adjacent contiguous properties, there were several properties that touched one another
Mhm.
of Alex Mountain. It was those pieces, and then the one piece on Cobblewood. Those were the pieces that were identified that potentially the city may want to sell.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it does not include the property that was recently donated to the city?
Are you talking about the 41 Peak and Peak?
Yes.
No, that does not. We are still
Okay.
trying to get a hold of that gentleman. I've tried to call him. I've sent a letter. You're talking about the Smith property at 41 Peak and Peak. He has essentially abandoned the property
Right.
and, but, we would need to get something a little more formal from a legal standpoint. And I've been trying to make contact with him. I've been unsuccessful in doing so, but, no, that piece was not included. No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir. Yes, Ed.
Could you give us an update on where we are on the culverts in that project?
That's another.
Well, that will be discussed here.
Oh, is it later?
It's on
I'm
the
sorry.
agenda. Yes, sir. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Jason. All right, our next item on our agenda is the police department report. Chief Eskins, if you will come and show your bright, fine, shiny face for the owl to see you and hear you, take it away.
Well, police department, we're still maintaining, we're one of the few that has not lost personnel during these times. We worked all through COVID. We didn't have any incidents with any of our personnel and all that. So that's a good thing for us. A lot of the agencies around our area are half staff, or some of them are even below that. People are leaving this field, not wanting to work in the current political environment we're in. We have not had that problem, so peace of mind for you all is we're still fully staffed. We've still got all of our shifts covered, and we're not short on manpower, so we're doing good with that. Hot topics in town here lately has been the red light at Gladys's, the Sinclair station. As you all know, that's North Carolina. We have no authority there. We have no say. I can't even make a phone call to them. I have to, through protocol by the governor of North Carolina, I have to contact Rabun County, have Rabun County contact Macon County. The issue is this, you all know this, you pull up, the lights aren't flashing. You look, you go to pull out, bam, there's a car right there. Where did he come from? Well, now the lights are flashing. Well, what's the issue with that? We've reported it numerous times. North Carolina will send out a tech, it's working fine. The problem is those signs and the triggers on that light are set for 45 miles an hour. I went up there the other day and said by the little tomato shack, cut on the radar, I'm clocking cars between 55 and 60. So by the time they trigger it, they're on you. That's the problem. And because of the embankment and the curve, you don't have a line of sight. You're relying on a light that is clearly not doing its job. So all we can really do is report it. We have no enforcement authority there at all. A lot of people get frustrated and, well, they see that and they come to us because we're right down the road. Well, just so you guys know, what we can do is report it. What you can do as citizens is report it to Macon County or to the state of North Carolina. Because that section of road there is kind of like our section going down the mountain. It's a state highway. So the state of North Carolina is responsible for that. Not even really technically Macon County. State of North Carolina, state property, just like 246 on our end is state. So that's been brought up numerous times to myself, some of the council members. What can we do about that? Well, that's legally what I can do about it. It's in another state. So I'm very limited, but your voices can be heard. You just need to make sure you get to the right people. Council, police department in Georgia is not the right people. Unfortunately, it's going to be North Carolina. So if you have an issue with that and you want to take it up, that's the best place to be heard. Because really all we can do is tell them, and then they're just hearing one voice. They're hearing, City of Sky Valley's whining again about something, whether it's the grass on the side of the road that never gets cut by the state of North Carolina, whether it's the ditches that never get cleaned, the trees across the road, it's just one voice. Your voices will be heard probably greater than ours because there'll be many voices.
Do you have a telephone number that we can all use?
I don't have a direct number for them. My protocol is I have to contact Raven County. And I have to contact them through 911 because that's our protocol. And our 911 will contact their 911 and then it's in the North Carolina system.
Chief Estes, Bill just made a great suggestion. I will call the president of the Raven County Commission and see what we can do through them.
Yeah, that's that little intersection there causes all of us grief. Even our officers who are on duty, all of us who live here. And there's been many near misses right there. And it can come from, the hill, the grass that they don't never cut. All of that problem, and then the light that's just not sitting there. Their tech came out the other day after we had another near miss there. And he was like, look, the light's working fine. And I said, look, I'm sitting here, I'm parking cars at 60 miles an hour right through here. He goes, well, the trigger set it at 45 because it's a 45 zone. Obvious question. Why don't y'all enforce your speed limit? Not his area. So, and then now I'm overstepping and I get reminded that this is a North Carolina thing. But we have looked into it. We have addressed it. The council's aware of it. We're aware of it. We've done what we can. That's really all I can do is share with you what we know.
We'll light a fire with the county commission.
Yeah.
Mayor Holly, I think at the same time, we should add to it that the lines down the road are practically gone. So that's another point maybe we could ask them to pursue.
And
Leave
the
the ones on the
road
sides.
goes through the
Well,
state.
and down the middle.
Oh, down the
it's-
middle,
It's
okay.
pretty much gone.
And if you've met one of these big trucks, the concrete trucks who fly down through there. If you had to kind of inch over, you see the condition of their drop offs and their ditches. We've had people pop tires right there. And we've had to render roadside assistance to people there because when you pop your tire there, you're stuck there.
You have no place to go.
And there's nowhere to go, and you're at the mercy of waiting on a wrecker. So we have to go there and sit with them because they don't have anyone available. But, we're aware of this problem. It's kind of, it was an ongoing problem when I got here almost 5 years ago. So I know you guys have been dealing with it a lot longer than I have. But the same issue can occur down the mountain road as well. As you guys know, we go into Georgia and North Carolina as we're going down. All the way to Chastain Road, you're in and out of North Carolina, and we've had some issues down there with road conditions and things like that. Ice on their sections of the road, things like the drop-offs and things of that nature. And but as long as, we do what we can, which is unfortunately when it comes to the Carolina side, all we can do is report it. But,
Thank you, Chief
yes, ma'am.
Estes.
Any questions?
Does North Carolina really clear the parts of the road that they have to go through Georgia to get to?
No, to be honest, no, we're hit or miss with that. Most of the roads that you see cleared, if you'll notice, our guys do, City of Sky Valley guys do. And it's a state route. That's the state's road, that's the state's responsibility. But if we relied on North Carolina and Georgia to come, they'll come up and they'll brine it one time. They'll scrape it one time. But you gotta realize that same little crew is responsible for all the state routes in Raven County. And the North Carolina crew that does those small sections is responsible for all of Macon County. So we're a very small fish in their pond, very small.
Chief Estes, what are the parameters of our memorandum of agreement with North Carolina?
It took Chief Deals, who's 3 chiefs, I believe, prior to me, it took him 3 years to get an agreement with the state of North Carolina to allow us to have a MOU, memorandum of agreement with them, a memorandum of understanding with them on how we handle these areas. And the protocol set up and agreed to by their governor was, as I said, we have to notify Raven County. Now, the craziness for you guys is this. Let's say I'm I'm behind Jim here at the stop sign at Gladys's, and bam, we have a car wreck right in front of me. That's North Carolina. You have as much authority as I do. I can't, you know what my job? Actually, he has more. He can hop out and run over there and render aid. I have to pause, contact Raven, have them ask Macon, hey, do you want us to help? Clearly, we violate that all the time because we have to respond. Otherwise, we'll have another wreck or another wreck. So it's kind of it's an understanding that pretty much we see it, we'll handle it. As far as what if I saw someone plow into you at that red light, I can't write them a ticket. I'm a glorified witness at that point. And I have no authority to make the arrest or anything of that nature without them asking and requesting specific.
Do you think we should change that policy?
I don't think you'll get it changed. I don't think the guy, reading what I've read from Chief Deals, they fought hard with North Carolina to give that. They view that is sovereign territory of the state of North Carolina. We're not North Carolina.
Well, what happens when you make a request to them? Do they typically say, yeah, go ahead?
9 times out of 10, they have no one to send to it. And we had a guy the other day, he was day before yesterday, he was broke down right there in that little section. We notified Macon County, they asked us to handle it because their closest deputy was on the other side of Franklin. Took him a good hour to get there probably. Because a broke down motorist, he's not running lights and siren. He'd get there when he was there. So they ask us to handle it. In most cases, they ask us to handle it. There's an accident with injuries, they definitely ask us to handle it. Although we can't issue citations and make arrests, but we can render aid, get the people in the ambulances, get the ambulances there, get the roadways clear, and then we have to wait for their trooper to get there. And sometimes they're coming from Asheville. So it takes a minute.
So it's very one-sided agreement. We're doing the work and
Pretty much. We've even had Highlands, since I've been here, Highlands has even asked us for help between Highlands and Scaly because there was no one else for them either. So we have an understanding. We help one another, but we just have to operate within those guidelines that have been set out. And we all understand them. We know how to operate within them. It's not the most efficient way, but it's better than no way.
I think we bubble that up with the county. See
Yeah.
what else we can
I'll
do there.
follow that up with
And the main
Greg
message right
James.
now, in the meantime, is be careful.
be careful, yeah, that's the main message. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Jason, I know that James Holbrook was supposed to give a Public Works Department report. Are you going to give that?
No, he actually emailed me something
Okay,
today. I'm gonna read this. I really haven't had a chance to proof it, but he's off today. Public Works is having to mow grass on the right of ways through the city every other week. They're also flail mowing the banks and ditches where the zero turn mowers cannot go, excuse me. All of the banks and ditches should be done in a couple of weeks. Public Works has noticed that the brush piles that homeowners are putting out for pickup are getting bigger in size and there are a lot more piles. Public Works would like to stress to the homeowners to please make sure brush is all turned the same way. This makes it easier and faster for the staff to load into the hopper of the wood chipper. Also, please do not put any brush or trimmings out there less than 3 feet long. This causes the wood chipper to clog. And as for garbage and recycling, please have it curbside by 8 a.m. on Monday mornings. Last but not least, if anyone notices water anywhere they haven't noticed it before or anything out of the ordinary, please do not hesitate to call the city so we can get it checked out to make sure that there's not a leak, or if it's a leak and repairs can be made. The other thing I really want to, this is outside of Mr. Holbrook's report. We have had some complaints of not all the recycling being picked up, and I wanted to share that. Each resident should have one bin. And the reason that things are not getting picked up is they're putting 3 bins worth of stuff out there. And really, by ordinance, what will fit in that bin, one bin, is what should be picked up. So we're having residents that are putting the equivalent of 2 or 3 times recycling bins worth of stuff out there. It's spilling over the side. And so we're going to pick up one bin full, whatever that we can carry. So if anything beyond that, you know, that they can take to the compactor or to the county recyclable.
Questions, comments?
Do we have more bins available for people that don't have them?
If anybody needs a bin, they can come and get one, I think. But you really should be one bin per property owner or per resident. And that's another thing too. I think I have heard that we do have some homeowners that have 2 or 3 bins. They really should only have one. So if recyclable comes in and if you have more than one, you see a bin missing, you know, it costs the city money. If you've got 2, then that means there's somebody else probably doesn't have one at all. So anyway,
So if somebody has a big party and they've got like 3 times as many soda bottles as usual out.
they have,
You'll pay 'em up?
well, they can go down to Raven Gap to the trash recycle down there, which is down Kelly Creek. That's going to be the closest one, but I mean, we do provide that service, but we do have limitations on the amount of trash and recycle that we will pick up. Obviously, the goal is to keep costs down, and that increases cost if you increase the amount of volume of trash and recycle.
Right. So
That answer your question, Jim?
well, it just raises the second question of, well, are our recycle containers big enough? For what, you know, we've got a lot of houses with 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, so they, you know, and they're used perhaps intermittently.
Well, let's pose the question.
I think it's
Is our truck big enough to have bigger
Yeah.
containers? Perhaps?
I know this morning when I talked with the guys to kind of get an idea of what they had, their scope of work for the day. They had not emptied the truck from yesterday, and the truck is absolutely full. So I think that those bins or those recyclable bins, that's kind of a standard size that they have. I think it's just the capacity. I mean, as you kind of alluded to, if somebody's having an event, really the city's responsibility is to pick up what can be placed inside that bin. If they have additional garbage, the other option would be to either go to the compactor or go to the Raven Gap landfill. Had a gentleman call me yesterday, called City Hall, wanted the city to pick up some old mattresses, and I had to tell him that he would really need to take that down to the county recyclable, which is down on Tiger near the rodeo arena. He asked, would there be a cost? I said, I would imagine so, but that's outside the scope of what the city does. So,
Okay. Well, I know you're very conscientious and responsive to citizen requests and needs, and your job is also to sort of mediate, you know, how we can fairly pick up everybody's trash. Well, I would just say be cognizant about this and, you know, want to pick up the garbage. That's something we do. I don't know what the answer is.
We're having those conversations, James and I, as obviously that's something, we'll get into that. We are getting into the busy time of the year. The city is starting to get into a growth mode, just like the county is. And so more people, more allocation of resources, more trash. So we are aware of that.
Okay, and just to clarify, did I hear you say that we're trying to mow bi-weekly?
Typically, the grass is cut every other week.
Okay, and that we should set out for the chippers, sticks that are less than 3 feet long. It shall be longer than that.
According to James' report, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. I'm just making sure I heard you right.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you, Jason. Item 8 on our agenda is our committee reports, and the council and I are so thankful for our citizens committee. They're essential for us to do our jobs, and we appreciate all our citizens that serve on these committees. And with that, I'm going to ask the chairman of the committees to give us a brief report on what their committees are about. Mr. Bill, I'm going to start with you with the mayoral advisory committee.
Thanks. Really, to preface this, you know, our charge as a committee is to really try to tackle some of the bigger issues, talk through them, you know, gather some information, you know, follow up with various entities, and then come up with some sort of recommendation back to the mayor's office for her consideration, and then potentially put that on the agenda for discussion with the council. So, you know, our committee doesn't make any decisions on what's going to happen. It's the goal is to come up with recommendations. We've had a number of things going on over the past year. The two most recent ones, one of the challenges that we brought up and have continued discussing is, what do we do with this building? You know, when you know, this church will eventually move out of this building to a new site over on Scaly. And, you know, as people remember, you know, when this thing was sitting vacant, it was not a good thing. And this land that sits here, along with about 500 other acres of undeveloped land, is all owned by Harrison Merrill Trust. And so we've had a conversation, and I've been in contact with them multiple times over the last year or so, and really trying to get to a point of, you know, what is their vision? What do they want to do? And if that fits with what we want to have as a community here, and if not, what other options might be? Could we partner with other people that might want to build condos or some other single family homes or some other facilities that will benefit us? It needs to fit with our golf course residential community. You know, the last thing we want to see is a whole bunch of commercial stuff. At least that's the feeling of everybody I've talked to, in my personal feeling. So as our last meeting, you know, we decided, you know, that maybe we should have Harrison Merrill Jr., who runs that company now, you know, come on the mayoral committee meeting and kind of present his visions and what their desires were, et cetera. And those were recorded, and I think that is posted, right? It should be. Yeah. So you can see that for yourself. It'll take me about an hour probably to go through everything we talked about. But essentially what we're making some progress in terms of, you know, they're willing to do some other smaller things, maybe partner with somebody else, you know, i.e., you know, maybe some of the condominiums or, you know, some other facility, not the big master plan that they wanted to do. Although right now, any major investment by those guys means a master plan. So one of the things that we spoke about was one of the first steps was some sort of feasibility study on what should we be doing maybe with this building and this general core area here, rather than just our opinion and their opinion and, you know, all of that. So I've been corresponding with Harrison to talk about that. We were supposed to have a call yesterday, but that got shortcut because of other business that he had going on. So I'm going to follow up with him again this afternoon and set a meeting because, you know, want to explore a feasibility study potentially where we might participate in that with them. But we really want to see the scope, and we want to be able to influence the scope. We don't want it just to be aimed at what they think, but, you know, a little more broad so that we can get some expert opinion in here on what might make sense. And there are some guidelines on what might make sense for Sky Valley in the Raven County Joint Comprehensive Plan as well. So there's some guidance already out there that's been made public record. So anyway, that's where we are with this. And, you know, it's a very complicated issue. It's, you know, they control most of everything that's undeveloped here. They've got big visions, not necessarily going to fit with, you know, what we want to do. And the real big stumbling block to that is sewer. And that is extraordinarily expensive. It wouldn't benefit, the sewer wouldn't, the only area that would hook up to that is this general area right here that we're sitting in. Valley. So there's some stumbling blocks there. It'd be easy just to say, well, we'll just continue like we are and not have these conversations. But, you know, I think it's such an important issue for the future. We really need to at least have the dialogue on an ongoing basis. So that's where we are with that. And then I got Tim Dara is also on our committee. He's been following up on developing more robust internet in the valley here, and also service to a couple of the areas that don't have any internet access right now. And he's been following up regularly with True Vista. Now they've gotten a whole bunch of money, like grants to expand into rural areas, and we're on the list of consideration to expand their services into areas where it's, first of all, that aren't serviced with good internet right now. There's a couple of pockets. And they're having conversations internally about putting in fiber. It's all about the economics. And so we don't know if we'll make the grade to get that more robust, totally done. But at least they're having that conversation. They've got some money set aside, and Tim is really on top of those guys to follow up there and report back. So there's some positive movement there, which is a good thing. And that's my update for today.
Thank you, Bill. Comments from the
I think
council?
you did a good job of covering the points.
You did good. You're still on it. Okay.
Damn, I have to show.
Yep. Okay, next, Mr. O'Keefe is here to talk about the marketing committee. Take it away, Bob.
Thank you. Just updates from my last report. The marketing committee's primary goal is to promote. And promotion in marketing is all forms of communication. We're not really into developing new products and that type of thing. We're just really trying to promote what we have, communicate to our current market and our potential target market. With that in mind, that's what our activities pretty much center on. And as most everybody knows, we have a marketing consultant in Doug Hollingsworth, and he sends email blasts monthly to anywhere between 50 and 200,000 recipients. as well as a golf trail newsletter, because he runs a company called Georgia Golf Trail. And in every one of his newsletters, we are either featured, mentioned, or have an image that can be clicked upon. Through Doug, we have hired, with the council's approval, Steve Dindenberg, who's a professional golf community photographer. And he was at one time the professional photographer for a professional golfer. And we have retained him, where he will come several times over the course of a year to take updated pictures of Sky Valley, the club, the homes, pretty much Sky Valley in total. He was here about 2 weeks ago to take his first round. He will come up periodically through the year to capture all the seasons. Those images will then be able to project, Sky Valley in every way through every season and able to be updated. He's also going to be here on July 3rd and 4th to capture our fun activities. He has been working with Jason to come up with a vehicle where all those images are saved, and anybody who's part of the city, the club, the POA, whatever, will have access to those, so that we are updated. They're in high definition. They're readily accessible and can be used by anybody who's basically contributed to this. And let's see. Okay. Also, we were in Gulf Coast Magazine recently with an article, and it spoke very well about us. And it spoke about some what's called our stay and play packages. Now, that's been an initiative that we've been working on for quite a while, and it's going to take quite a while for us to kind of put it to bed. But Doug had recommended that we have a stay and play where people could come, stay, play golf, or whatever, not just golf, but stay and play other things and make those available. So we, in our brainstorming sessions, we decided we would contact local places that would people could stay in, and offer them the ability for us to promote them. And then could they offer something in return to people that would book through our stay and play arrangement? Well, unfortunately, most of those places do not want to offer discounts. We've contacted local inns, hotels, Jewel Farms, and then we've reached out to the property owners that rent their homes. And pretty much the consensus is, well, we get pretty full during the season, so we don't really need to do that. So what benefit is it to us? So we've had to rework this a little bit in that we're basically, and we have to discuss this at the next market meeting, because we do have a subcommittee of certain members that are doing the work, but we haven't decided on it because everything we do has to be investigated, researched, decided upon, voted, similar to what happens here at the council meeting, and then move forward in the best way possible. And sometimes our ideas, you brainstorm, come up with an idea, and you find out logistically it may or may not work, and then you revamp your plan and you keep going forward. So we're trying to keep the snowball rolling down to have a positive outcome from that. And so at this particular point, it's kind of in rework stage, where we will then ask them, as we will promote them by being on our sites, that they will put us on their site. And also, because we don't have the help, so to speak, to orchestrate things, we have to make it simple to operate. So it may be the most simple thing to just, hey, we put you on our site, you put us on your site, and then you handle the bookings and so on. Because there was some discussion about us having to hire people to handle the phone calls and the bookings. All of a sudden, it gets to be unmanageable from our standpoint. Let's see. Doug is going to have 3 media writers, which last year we had several come up, play golf, and then publish articles for us or on their radio shows or what have you. So we have 2 coming in July and 1 coming in August. And generally speaking, we put them up for a night, usually with the club's help and one of the property owners, and provide our best foot forward to the writers and get some good write-ups, and then be able to use those articles and broadcasts. As a matter of fact, we had a radio interview back, I guess about a month or so ago, with a national syndicated radio show that's all over the country. And we had Jamie Dara perform a 5-minute interview, and she did a great job. The mayor actually sent out the link by email, and it's a great interview. And I think it's posted on the home website, but we can certainly put that link on any of our websites. And for everybody's information, what we're doing as a marketing committee is a conglomeration of the city and the club and the POA, and all of our websites are connected to each other so that whatever we do is available to all, and sometimes in 3 different places, which is great, because if you miss it one, you may be able to pick it up at another. Okay, one of the things we want to work towards is this past year, we kind of focused mostly on print media, print advertising. And we came up with a better logo or a new logo. We came up with a slogan. We were in quite a lot of magazines. We redid the bulletin board or the side. I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment. Down at the bottom of the hill, there's a billboard. Thank you. I was going to call it a Bob board, but it's really a billboard. And our slogan, of course, is "Come the highest and coolest city in Georgia," which even some of the places where we put our ads and the articles in have really picked up on that. Especially now we're getting into the hot weather. Just down in Clayton yesterday was 91, and up here was like 81. So again, it's coming true. But we are going to limit somewhat of our print media this year because of our funds, and because we feel for the future that more and more business is going to be taking place through social media. Now, social media is just a general term, and it includes emails, which we're doing through Doug, and it includes Facebook and Instagram and our websites. So we're looking toward, for this year, at least one of my objectives as the chairman, trying to push it down the line, is that our website as a city needs to be updated. Now, I know we spent a bunch of money a year prior on a website, and I don't know for sure, I could be more specific with my opinion, but I'll try to be gentle, that we got our money's worth. And I know the club recently did theirs, and I think theirs is great. I think the POA needs to be working so that when somebody goes to Sky Valley, it's user-friendly, and it's not user-friendly. And I use them fairly regularly. And sometimes I have trouble finding things, or where to data mine and dig down, or where do I find that thing. I actually had to call Ed Style of the POA because I was looking for something, and I had to ask him, I can't find it. How do we get there? So we don't need that for people that are coming in. We need to make it easy for them. And then, of course, connect it to every place possible. Because if something is not easy to be used, particularly online, maybe our generation is, well, we'll find it. We'll do what we got to do, because we used to have to go to the library, look up books. And if you can't make it easy for the younger generations, they're gone.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that what we present to them is easy. If they want to find real estate, it's easy. If they want to find where's the connection to the club, it's easy. If they're on the club, what's the connection to the city, that it's easy. If it's not easy, we lose them. So that is one of the hallmarks of what I would like to accomplish during the course of this year. That we may not accomplish it this season, but I think that would be a big advantage for the future. Called search engine optimization, so that, I mean, there's so many things that are Sky Valley. We want our one-stop shop website to be the first thing that comes up, and we're going to work with that. Again, most of our committee members are of our generation, so we may have to go out and hire some people that know it a little bit better than we do. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Improve our website. So, okay. Oh, one of the other things we'd like to do is, once we get the stay and play, we continue to go with that language. We do want to have some kind of connection. I'll call it things to do Because when we used to go on vacations, you probably all remember, you go to a hotel and there's a book in the drawer, and where do we go to eat, and where do we go to stay, and where do we, what's for fun? And again, most of that is done online, in some way, shape, or form. So that has been recommended. It's a good recommendation, but we're gonna do it in steps. Let's get our website right, let's get where we're gonna stay right, and then we can go on to what other fun things are there to do. We've had some contact with businesses around that would actually pay to have an ad, if you want to call it, or a connection to our website. We're not to that point yet. We have to have the vehicle set up, and if we want to sell space, great. If we make a little money off of it, great. I'm not looking towards where we make money off of it. I'm just looking for our objective of getting people to get here. And if we put the zip lines, the fishing, and really good restaurants up there, even our own residents can just go to our site. Because I even see on the Sky Valley Neighborhood Facebook page, well, what do you do for this? If anybody know a good thing about this? And we can just make it available to them on the website. So I'm thinking we will have things to do, kind of a link or page a little bit further down the line. As chairman of the marketing committee, the mayor has asked me to sit in on the Forward Raven County Marketing Committee, which I do. I've missed a meeting or two because of being out of town. But we have recently in their newsletter, and there was a kind of a nice ad for the club. And a short time ago, we had a little video on WSB online, we're not on TV, but they came up and spoke with Roy Aiken, and we're doing everything we can. And all of that stuff technically is free to us. So we're doing putting our fingers out there to get whatever we can just to talk about Sky Valley. As a matter of fact, I think that that ad was on, it was about the Sid Weber golf tournament that's coming up in August. Now, one of the things that came up, and I apologize for being long-winded on this one, but there's a lot of important things here that I think people should know. We added Carla Stahl to our committee as an adjunct member because she is a property owner who rents out her properties. And we were trying to look into hotels and other places, and she agreed to come up and do a little bit of legwork. And being a volunteer, we need volunteers to do certain things. And talking to the homeowners, because we wanted to make them available to be part of this stay and play program, she's come to find out that many of the homeowners that rent out their places are not paying city tax. And that's where we get our hotel and motel tax from. And technically, if they don't, it's, I don't want to call it criminal, but it's not within law, let's put it that way. And we are going to start to investigate that because they are supposed to pay, state, Raven County taxes and a portion to us. And some are doing it diligently and some are not. So we are going to investigate, and I think Carl is getting with or has gotten with Jason soon, to find out who's actually paying. And vacation by owner, VROB or whatever it is, actually requires them to pay all applicable taxes. And if they don't, then vacation rental by owner will drop them.
Well, let me stop you right there, Bob. I just learned that the Georgia legislature, House Bill 317 was passed and signed by the governor, which deals with rental remittance to the city. So those internet companies will collect the taxes
Great.
and send them automatically to the city.
Makes it easy,
Yeah.
perfect. Because that's a significant amount of income to the city, and of course, that's where our marketing budget comes from.
And to
Right.
be clear, what you're talking about is hotel motel tax.
Hotel motel
Not
tax,
city property.
not city
tax.
property tax, this is hotel motel tax. If you rent something and,
Yeah,
just like a portion of the money goes to the municipalities.
Well, the very fact that we collect hotel motel tax, the law says a percentage of it has to go towards promoting tourism and marketing. So
Exactly.
that all goes together.
And that's where the money that Forward Raven County
Right.
spends, we give our money, a portion of it to them. And then all the things that they pay for comes out of all the municipalities' money that comes to them from the hotel motel tax. And last year, they spent a little bit of money for us when we did the bumper stickers and decals, and hopefully we're gonna do that again. more of a question that I don't expect an answer from now, because I know you're still going through budgets and a new financial person, but a contribution from the city to the marketing committee, because we operate based on the contributions from the city and the club and the POA. And I said from the very beginning, if we don't have the money, we don't spend the money. So in our budgeting, what we're going to do, it's kind of important for us to know what we're going to have. So any of you folks can work on that, let me know,
We will.
because we're getting to the point where,
You're talking about for next year.
no, 21.
You want to know what was left for you to spend?
Well, I know what was left,
Okay.
but there was no contribution. There was about $4,400 from all the contributions left over from 2021, which gave us the seed money from 2020, left us the seed money for 2021.
Okay.
We got a commitment from the club for $5,000, half of which was already paid, and the other half should be paid by now, but I haven't checked. I'll check with Karen. The POA committed to 15,000, which we've already received a check for that.
Mhm.
But we never heard or received either a commitment or a payout from what the city was going to contribute, because it was, we didn't have a city manager, we were changing our financial accounting people,
That's correct.
And now we've made commitments to put full page ads in North Georgia Mountains Vacation Guide for the summer and the fall, which we did last year and it worked pretty well. And half page ads in the Mountain Traveler magazines that should be coming out now for the summer and then for the fall. We're only in the top 2 publications. Most of those places do 4 times a year. We're just doing 2, which are the most important ones. But money's going to have to start. We've been fortunate this year that not a lot of money has had to go out so far, but now we're hitting.
Okay.
And then if we're going to hire somebody or to do the website work and all this other stuff,
Jason will work with you on
Okay.
that, Bob,
it's going to start
because
coming.
he and our financial advisor
Okay,
are coming,
great.
had to overcome a lot. to
I
get
understand
where
that.
we are. Yeah.
I understand it. I'm not
Gotcha.
pushing it other than for us to move forward, there's gonna be bills coming in, and then
Gotcha.
for us to plan stuff, we need to know. I'm not gonna plan
Could you
anything.
just put those on your personal credit card first and then we'll get back with you?
Yeah, that would, except I have a financial advisor at my house. who will think I don't want to be living in the backyard next to the gas tank. So,
We got you. We'll handle it.
now the other thing, one last thing, is that our objective as a marketing committee is to get the people to come. Visit and possibly stay. It's even on our bill. Come visit or come and stay. And although the marketing committee is not the only reason why, when we started the marketing committee a year and a half ago, there were about 57 rental properties, properties for sale in Sky Valley. As of last week's POA Welcome Back Dinner, there's 4. Now, there's lots of reasons for that. COVID, people getting back out, Sky Valley is a lovely place. And we think with all of the communication and all the various ways we are, we're all doing a great job together. So let's
It's
keep
working.
it going.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for the long report, but I wanted you to have everything that's happening on the marketing front.
Thank you, Bob.
Bill,
I don't know.
Couple comments. I appreciate the forward thinking. And, with the photos from that professional, we know those will live a long time.
long time.
The website you're talking about is really important, because that, as you mentioned, and I believe we all agree, that this is going to evolve to more of electronic
It is.
marketing, which is by nature more cost efficient than we're doing now. So
Mhm.
we should see the payoff of this, not only in increased exposure to everybody that the demographic that you're marketing to. We should see the cost of getting that done go down.
Yeah.
Going forward.
The
which
cost
is
per
great.
image and impression is going to be much lower than any print
Right,
advertising.
which is important, as we know costs are escalating for everything else.
Mhm.
From a budget standpoint. So I appreciate you guys are moving forward with that. I think that's right. The other observation is you know, all of these programs that you're doing, the emails, all the stuff that Doug's doing, et cetera, is aimed at a demographic. Number one, that would appreciate visiting Sky Valley, spending money up here, right? And then potentially, you know, buying or building, et cetera, which is important. And not only is that demographic kind of fit with where we are and where we want to be, but that demographic also has money to do it.
Exactly.
So I think that targeted marketing at those audiences you mentioned is right on the money.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else?
And
Yes, it
two
is.
things. One is now that we've got our logo approved, the banners on the poles.
We're
is
we're
that-
on it.
Okay.
Jason is looking into replacing, they're kind of sad looking, they've
I
kind of
think we ought to
faded,
take
right?
them down. I mean, they're just.
Yeah,
there's
they're
some of them
sad,
so
But he is
faded.
looking into
We're
replacing.
actually, Madam Mayor, Council, we've reached out to some companies as well as some local vendors. Tropical Rays, which is in Clayton. I've sent them the new banner in the digital format. And we're in the process of getting everything from a new flag to new decals for the vehicles to,
Right.
so it is a work in progress.
Thank you, Ed.
To your point, though, you know, we shouldn't be displaying anything that's not first rate. So if those banners looking bad, but it's better to give no impression on that than
Yeah.
take them down.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, thank you.
I'm sorry, I did have one more thing.
Okay.
There was a message floating around, and I don't know what the end result was, but George Powell was trying to get us, and us being defined, I'm not sure whether it's the club, the city, the POA, but to join him on a joint advertisement. And I think, didn't that finally get to you or not?
Unless I'm having a senior moment, I don't recall it, but you know who it came from?
George Powell, from the zip line.
Okay. Oh, George Powell. Okay. All right. I'll have to go back. I don't have recollection right now. But
Well, it's something he wanted to get done sooner than later, so he may have gone ahead and done something. So, but
Talk about a group of people according with the zip line or, yeah, organizations.
Yeah.
Okay, we will look into that.
Mayor, I was on that subcommittee and I was aware of that and I have a copy of that here and,
Take it away.
yeah, well, it's just an effort on his part to create some sort of an agreement to do joint.
Would you
outreach.
define who he is? for
George Powell. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
George
on
Powell,
the
okay.
zip line right up the street.
Okay,
Just the plateau.
Yeah, yeah, and it's, what they're doing, I think, is down here as well as Highlands and all in that area. So it's a broader outreach than just what we were looking at. But I have a copy of it here.
okay, great. Okay.
great. Thank you, Tony. Anybody else? Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
All right, is Ms. Dowhouse, is she online, Jason, and does she want to give her landscaping report? Or has she left? for
She
parts
is,
unknown?
she is online.
I hear her laugh, so she must be online. Okay.
Has not left the building yet.
No, she has not. Take it away, Debbie.
Thank you. I sent a printed report to Karen Fleming to share with the council members. I hope she will also post it on the website. This is the Landscaping Advisory Committee. We are 4 master gardeners, excuse me, 3 master gardeners, 1 retired professional landscaper, and 1 active professional landscaper. That's Mark Wanamaker, and he's the one who is contracted by the city to do the actual work. What we have in our report are pictures and a list of the plants that have been installed at the front entrance, the street entrances, sorry, had to turn the page here, and intersection of LaBelle and Ridgepole. Everything has been planted with perennials, some flowering and some greenery, evergreens, as well as some annuals, just to add a spot of color at the very front entrance and in front of the post office. We are looking at having some more things beginning to bloom later in the summer. So I'll send another report in July with those pictures. I included some areas that are not being landscaped by the city, but the country club has done a very nice job adding flowers at their entrance and at the putting green, along with the sign on 246. That pretty much wraps it up, unless people have questions. One quickie is that we will change out the annuals in the front entrance, front of the flagpole. Those are our annual flowers. They'll come out in the fall and be replaced by pansies because our Floridian residents like to see color all year round.
Thank you, Debbie. I think the city's looking great. I appreciate your work with our professional landscapers. I also want to mention that the city has received donations from the property owners and from the garden club to help pay for all this wonderful stuff, as well as our city contributions to the landscaper. And we appreciate all your work and effort.
Well, thank you for reminding me of the donations. We've also had donations of plants from several members, several residents.
Thank you for getting your hands dirty and doing the job.
You're happy to do it.
Also compliment you, Debbie, on your photography. The
Yeah.
message that she sent had really nice pictures of all the
Right.
areas, so.
Yeah.
And I'd like that put on the website also. I think that was a great idea. Thank you, Debbie.
Certainly.
Something we could also put in the monthly bulletin.
We could put it in the Sky Valley Times, maybe, Karen. That'd be great. That'd be great. Karen is in a coma. She's writing minutes, but I think she's with us. Okay.
I am.
All right.
She's still on Bob's part.
And now,
I was gonna give him a bigger piece of paper.
Mr. Turner, are you still with us?
I am.
All right. You're
Yeah.
on for Special Projects Committee. Go
Thank you,
for it.
Madam Mayor. In general, the Special Projects Committee, through feedback from the residents, is focused on the overall appearance of, what Debbie's discussed, the front entrances. We got involved with the front end lights. But in general, overall improvements throughout the city. One thing that I wanted to add to Debbie's presentation is if anybody gets a chance to go up Ridgepole and look what the Garden Club has done with the big rock bed at LaBelle and Ridgepole, it's a big improvement, and kudos to the Garden Club. And the only other thing I can add is if people are noticing the timeshare building over next to the post office, the progress, the ongoing progress that we're seeing on that building, which is, sorely needs some improvements. So we're moving forward. The town's looking good, and it's attributable to I think a lot of hard works from this city, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce. Any comments or questions for Bruce?
Hey, Holly,
Yeah.
I have one quick thought, and it's probably maybe a Jason question.
Okay,
There are two scenic overlook signs coming in and coming out of Sky Valley. I'm curious to see who owns those. They're brown signs, which kind of typically lead you to believe maybe they're a state sign. And if there's any appetite or any benefit to pin those directly to Sky Valley.
are they on the highway?
Yes, they're on 246.
We will do our duty and investigate that.
Thank you.
Are you asking if we can replace them and indicate that these are Sky Valley overlooks, or?
Yes, just pin them to, associate them. These are in Sky, this overlook is in Sky Valley.
Okay. You want your picture on it?
Please, please.
Okay,
Madam Chief would like to.
Chief, you know,
State, that's a state highway. All signs belong to the state, has had state permission. If you guys remember a few years ago, Chief Dills tried to install a sign at our overlook instructing people, since there's no cell service, we had an emergency phone at City Hall at the police department. They made us take it down. That sign's now leaned up against our building. That's their right of way. They control the signs.
okay. Did you hear that, Bruce?
I did.
put that list as well. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
we-
ridiculous if an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Not
We
having a
got
sign.
a 6 by 6 foot sign they had made, leaned up against the building.
And what did the sign say?
Pretty much due to no internet activity, no internet access, no cell service or anything. If you need emergencies, services, there is a phone at City Hall. And the big sign that was put there was removed. They did allow us to put the little bitty sign right in front of City Hall that no one notices. It says emergency phone.
Okay.
And that goes to that little red.
Yeah, I do
phone.
get cell service at the overlook.
But back then they did not.
Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you, thank you. Anything else? Thank you, Bruce.
You are welcome.
Again, I have to thank all our citizens committees. They, as you all can hear, they do a lot of work for you all, and we appreciate it. All right, moving right along here. Item number 9 on the agenda is to consider approval to partner with Servline Leak Protection Program for water leak protection. This was discussed this morning in our hearing, and we answered a lot of questions. Do I hear a motion to approve this leak protection program?
Madam Mayor, I approved it.
You make a motion.
I would like to make a motion
Thank you.
that
I second the
we
motion.
approve participation with this
All right.
program for the extent of $2,500 a year coverage.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Ed. Now for a discussion from the council. Any more discussions or questions?
Just to say that this should be an easy one.
Should be.
It's a win-win for the city. It's a win-win for the citizens.
Right.
It's an
All right.
improvement.
Lot of discussion this morning.
Yes, there
All the
was. and
questions were answered.
If you were not here and you have some questions, you certainly can call City Hall with questions, and you can see, you'll see our recording of the hearing when it goes online. All in favor of this approval signify by
Do we
saying,
have a second?
yes, we did. Ed had a second. Yes.
Thank you.
All,
You're welcome.
okay, did that come on video when I hit Jim like this?
It's evidence, Mayor.
All in approval of this measure signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So done. Item 10, consider approval of the resolution of the authorized award of certification with Cedar Farms and Construction. This has to do with our emergency storm drain replacement on Sky Valley Way. If you have been on Sky Valley Way when we have had a great deal of rain, you know what happens. It gets flooded. And if you've looked at that culvert, it is not in good shape. And if that culvert were to collapse, we would be in big trouble. So we've been talking about this for months. Jason, would you go ahead and kind of give us a rundown, a summary of what we're thinking and what's happening?
Madam Mayor, yes, ma'am. This is something that actually was going on prior to my arrival, but it was kind of placed as priority 1. We're at the point now, we have reached out to several contractors. We have explored several options. The most feasible and as far as a response from those that were still in business or have the availability to do this was Cedar Creek. Lamar here, he has actually done work for the city in the past up on Nile Drive. The proposal that he provided us, let me backtrack just a minute. Back in late March, when we had about 10 inches of rain, we actually had to close the road. The road was actually completely covered in water due to the rising water and the failure of those culverts. In fact, I had to have a couple of public works staff come in late that night to put barriers up, but it is no secret that needs to be done. There was some grant money that was received, approximately a $50,000 grant, and then $29,658. The $29,000 has a matching component to it. The total that we have on hand right now is $88,556. We have approximately $7,000 in SPOS that's committed toward roads. And then under the budget for the road department, there was $10,000 budgeted for road repair. $4,000 has been spent. There's $6,000 available. We're right at the $103,000 that Mr. Hare has proposed in his quote. I do want to add, though, he and I have had several conversations. You may have noticed he had some of his staff here a week or two ago. They were actually able to determine that they could replace those pipes with two 72-inch pipes, even though this quote states two 48-inch pipes. The 72 will work there. The goal is to try to get those put in with the availability or limited availability of material. Mr. Hare is looking to try to find two 72-inch pipes. He thinks he can do that. So I say that, or I share that, in that if the council were to approve this emergency request, that is an estimation that will go up. I don't know what the additional cost will be. I'm thinking probably around another $10,000 or $15,000, but this is because of the situation the whole country's in, rising costs of steel, rising costs of material. But we have the money here. Mr. Hare is actually one of the few contractors that actually has staff in place in this post-COVID time. If he can find the piping, he could start as early as the week after the 4th of July holiday. This would probably take about 2 to 3 weeks to do this. And he would only have to close one half of the road at a time. So the road would be open, but it would be a single lane. And so all the moving parts that have been going on are in place. We're just at this point right now to approve this so he can get his marching orders to move forward.
Do we need to discuss the emergency resolution also?
Yeah, but I can just.
Yes, that's right.
Okay,
One
you, guys.
question about what he,
okay.
before we do that.
All right, one more question from Bill before Doug reads the emergency resolution.
I understand that the pipes. What's supporting the road? It's not the pipes, right?
It's partially the pipes, it's partially concrete, it's rocks. What we would hope to see when this is done is all that, lack of a better word, Band-Aid fix that you've seen over the past 45, 50 years. Come in, they would pour head walls, restructure concrete, asphalt back over that, reinforce that. The road actually has a crack in it right now. It's
Right.
kind of, but the concern is the next 10-inch rain event, which is getting to be more and more common. We may lose that.
Well, that
road.
answers my question. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that we're addressing it structurally as well.
Yeah, this would be a vast improvement over what's there now.
The other option that you had, just for comparison purposes, would have been way above 200,000.
Yeah,
Fair
Council,
enough.
yes, we had reached out to another company called Construction Technology. The county is using them. They are a prefabricated box culvert, open span. They make them in aluminum, concrete, steel. In the short, he provided us a quote that was almost $80,000 just for that aluminum culvert. Since that time, that price has increased to well over
And did not
$100,000.
include
Yeah,
installation.
yes, ma'am. I was going to say that.
Well, that was my really my
Yeah,
point.
the point is that was just for the part. It was going to be another $15,000 to erect it. It would take about a week on site to erect it. Plus the road was going to be cut out to put that in. And there's a lot of utilities that are in place there now. And per Mr. Hare, the goal of the plan is to pull those old pipes out underneath the road, put the new ones in, reinforce. And it was going to actually have to close the road to deal with that open span. And yeah, the estimation was going to be double this cost if we went with that open span.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, so this is the resolution that the council shall consider. It says a resolution to authorize award of a contract for emergency storm drain replacement. Whereas the governing body of the city of Sky Valley is the mayor and council, and whereas it is necessary to immediately repair the culvert near a main road in the city because the road is in danger of being impassable. Whereas OCGA 32-4-113A5 says a municipality is prohibited from negotiating a contract except a contract for emergency maintenance requiring immediate repairs to a public road, including but not limited to bridge repairs, snow and ice removal, and repairs due to flood conditions. Whereas the city of Sky Valley has inspected the damaged culvert, and the mayor and council have deemed it a danger to the citizens of Sky Valley and have moved forward with getting a quote from a qualified construction firm to fix the culvert. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of Sky Valley, Georgia, section 1, contract award. Cedar Farms and Construction Incorporated of East Denali, Georgia is hereby selected to perform the work of fixing the damaged culvert based on their estimated price of $102,500 as listed on their June 1st, 2021 quote, which is attached here to and incorporated by reference. Section 2, filing copies of final agreement. The city manager is hereby authorized to execute the contract and any other documents consistent with the above reference contract and file the final executed contract in the office of the city clerk, where it shall be certified and made available for public inspection. Section 3, severability. If any section, part, or provision of this resolution is held invalid, unenforceable, or unenforceable, such invalidity or unenforceability shall not affect any other portion of this resolution, and all parts, sections, whereas clauses, and other provisions of this resolution shall be severable. Section 4, effective date. The resolution shall be effective immediately upon its adoption.
When we ask for our motion, what do we need to put into that document that you just read? If the price, it seems the price is going to be more than 102, since we're going with 2 72-inch pipes, what do we need to do to that document to make it current with what we're going to do?
Do we know how much to expect?
The volatility of pricing, he was very hesitant, when I say he, Mr. Hare, to give a price, but the estimation was probably going to be another $10,000 to $15,000. So I would say probably when the dust clears, we will be close to about $120,000. Hopefully that's worst case scenario.
Can we put a contingency clause in there that says up to
Up to
this
About
amount?
2.
Yeah.
Anything over would require council.
Yes, so up to $120,000. So okay, yeah, we can do that.
So that when we talk about it, that's what we're going to the document. Great. Okay, do I have a motion to consider? Yes, yes. I was going to have a discussion after we do our motion. Okay. Consider approval of the emergency resolution with the newest fix and authorize award to the contract with Cedar Farms Construction Company. Do I hear a motion?
I make that motion.
Thank you, Ed. A second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Who did the second?
Bruce.
Bruce was trying that. I keep
Oh,
thinking
that was
that's
Bruce,
you,
I heard
Dan.
over
It's
there.
Bruce.
All right. Sorry,
Bruce
Bruce.
is looking at you.
Yeah.
Bruce is looking at us. Okay, now discussion.
I have a question for Jason about these grants. They require a certain amount of matching funds to go with them. So like, if I recall, the 50,000 required that we match that at like 30%.
Karen and I talked about this today. I believe the 50,000 does not require the match. The 29,000 does. 30% of that would be $8,897.54. The total of that included our match is 88,556. You add the 7,000 that we have available in SPOS, takes it to 95,556. We have 6,000 available in road maintenance in our road funds that has not been allocated for. That takes it to 101,556. We're close. The rest would probably either have to come out of the general fund or hopefully some of this American Recovery Funds that we're receiving. So
That's why.
we're so close that.
But we're okay if we need to do a budget amendment later, then we can do that, right? We've got the funds.
Yeah. Thank you, Ed. Jim.
That was my question for Jason. My question for Doug would be, if we don't have Hare's estimate yet, can we approve it in advance, or do we need to have an emergency meeting as soon as we get it, so that we know what we're approving?
Now, we do have his estimate up to a certain point. Mr. Streetman has indicated that his conversations, there's probably gonna rise above that, but no more than 120. I think if the motion is approve it up to 120. that's
Right,
fine.
and we put that in this
Because
document.
the current, we're incorporating by reference Hare's earlier estimate, which was based on putting in two 48-inch pipes, which is frankly inadequate. Two 72-inch pipes gives us a significant increase in our capacity, which I think is a wise thing to do.
Right, and we will have that in our emergency document. He's
Yeah.
going to do
Yeah, I'm
that.
gonna, when I get back to the office, change it to up to 120. Now, if it goes above 120, we're gonna have to meet again.
Yeah, we'll have that.
So,
Okay.
But essentially, Counselor, from speaking, the last conversation that I had with Mr. Hare, once he said, y'all get this approved today, I will get, that would be my marching orders. He's having to search nationwide for this piping. He feels like he has the contacts and connections to do that, but again, he did not want to revise the quote and then have to revise it again or even again. But once, if this were to be approved today, and I reach out to him this afternoon, he is going to go ahead, start looking for those 72-inch pipes. And once he gets that cost and locks that in, he will revise the quote. And if it happens to be over 120,000, then we can call it an emergency meeting to amend this, but I do not have any other information. Things are just so volatile right now with
My
materials.
goal was just to get the 72-inch pipes
Yes.
included in this document that we're
So
approving.
what that means is we approve moving forward, but you're not authorized to sign until he gets the revised.
If it's over 120,000.
Well, you want to revise one that specifies 72 versus 48.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, revised quote, correct.
Any other comments?
Tell him what we approved.
Yeah, what, up to 120?
The magic number, right?
Good comment, Ed. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving this motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you, Bruce. All right. Let's move finally to our public forum and general comments. Thank you all for hanging, all of those that hung in here. Thank you for hanging in here. In our effort to respond to our citizen comments and questions during this part of the agenda, we would like to give correct and timely responses. Doug, if you don't mind, and I'm hitting you up this without even talking to you about it.
Sure.
I know at one of our last public meetings, one of our citizens questioned the council's procedure for renting our city-owned building.
Right.
I was pretty sure that our charter allowed us to do it the way we did. I wasn't sure how it worked with the Georgia code that the citizen mentioned. Could you kind of discuss your response to the citizen so everybody knows what's happening?
Yes, I had wrote a little memo a while back to the mayor and council about that. My understanding is that the citizen had a concern about a portion of the state code that seemed to have required cities to basically advertise in place and put up for bid anytime they had a city-owned property that they wanted to rent. And there is a code section that does have that language in it. However, if you look at the beginning of the code section, it says it only applies to cities that do not have in their charter authority granting the city to just negotiate and lease that property itself. So that code section didn't apply to Sky Valley because our charter does have a specific provision that allows the city to lease, sell, rent. I mean, pretty much anything city-owned property, we have that authority to do. So that code section didn't apply to us. So that code, we're not required to put it up.
Thank you.
You
And I
can negotiate directly.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your response to the citizen too. That was great. Okay, with that, we're going to open it up to any y'all that are still awake out here for public forum. Any person with business before the council, please state your name and your address. Then you know that no formal action can be taken, but if we can answer a question, we will. Anybody have anything they'd like to throw in on this?
Of course.
All right, would you please stand up, please, sir, and state your name
Can't
and
see me?
address?
Dan McAfee, 776 Alpine. What the landscaping committee and the city are doing up at the entrance is very nice. What has happened between that area and the pool has gotten very overgrown. Used to be a much more impressive view going through there, and I would like to see the city consider clearing out some of that vegetation in there.
You talking about on the roadside?
Yeah,
Or-
along
or
there,
the-
between the fairway and Sky Valley Way.
Yeah.
You know, that driving in the entrance used to be much more impressive than it is
Okay.
today.
But you're talking about from the roadway down to the golf course?
Yep.
Okay,
Or
I
just a
agree.
little bit?
thank you.
Mhm.
We will bring that to our Public Works Director. That'd be great. Thank you. Mr. McAfee, anybody else? John?
John Watts, 21 Cedar Lane. I just have a question about, I've noticed some of the areas that rain kind of washed out next to the road, and looks like it could use some rock to keep it from continuing to wash out. This is on Thunderhead is what I remember right off. And also, there's an area on Cedar Lane. I'm not sure exactly how to explain it. Further down, it's where they came down through there. I think it was the, I don't know if it was True Vista or who it was, about a year or so ago, they went down through there and they trenched in, and ever since then, it's been gradually washing out. Get a pretty good drop off. We talked about on 246 having a problem, the same type of thing. If you go off the edge there, that your car's gonna sit down there, it's not gonna go anywhere. It should be taken a look at anyhow, and see if something should be done.
Okay.
And I do have one other question too. When the water comes down the road, is it supposed to go on the private property? That's more than just me. I've noticed another area on Thunderhead where it comes down part way and then it cuts across my neighbor's property.
Okay.
He's never said anything, I don't think, about it, but I just wondered about that.
We will have, Jason will have Public Works look at Thunderhead and Cedar Lane
Yes.
and see what we can do to mitigate those problems. Thank you. Anybody else?
I think that in the past, this issue has come up, and I think I've been consistent in urging that once we take responsibility for the rainwater, it's our responsibility. And if it's going across private property, it probably shouldn't be. If it's failure of a culvert, it's failure of a ditch, something like that. But I don't know if that's official policy or not.
we'll make it so.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
We
Thank you.
might want to involve True Vista in this too. If
Yes.
they dug it up and it's.
I think it
was True Vista or if it was the phone company or who it was.
It could be Georgia Power.
Could be Georgia Power, yeah.
I don't think it was Georgia Power.
I think it was, I know True Vista was digging some ditches for some cable, fiber.
The place, I think, well, actually, I think it might be the phone company, because if I remember correctly, they had problems where they'd actually stuck some up in the trees temporarily, and it lasted for a few years. But
That could be Windstream or True Vista. Yeah. Jason, I'm sure you'll get right on that in your spare time. Thank you.
Thank you for
Anybody
raising
else?
that. It raises the question that recently Georgia Power has come through and cleaned up the vegetation
In front of
around
their
some of the
boxes.
power boxes
Mhm.
and have dropped a lot of that stuff right on the,
Side of the
right in the
road.
ditches.
Mhm.
Are we gonna chip that? Does Georgia Power need to be talked to? Does Georgia Power need to take care of that? And I noticed that on Alpine Drive, probably a concerned walker has taken some of that stuff and tried to push it over the other side of the road. And it's gonna be a little harder for whoever's gonna clean it up, get it out from there.
Are you ratting on one of your neighbors?
No,
Okay.
I'm raising a question.
I got you.
Does the city take care of that, or does Georgia Power need to take care of it?
A lot of times it defaults to the city to get it done, but we'll check into it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before too much longer, can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Thank you, Tony.
Second.
Good.
Thank
You didn't have any questions on there, did you?
Was there any questions on there? Good question. All right, hold on before we vote.
And can we open up the floor so they can just speak to us?
Who,
No, there was no questions.
no questions, okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies.
Go get my bill.